Hi there, welcome back to Last Ditch and the Beginner's Guide to Food Growing. You can find this full course on lastditch.ca. Today we're going to be stepping into the basics of plant care. So the most important thing that you can learn about when doing any kind of garden, but particularly when you're talking about growing vegetables and fruits, is learning about soil. Good soil is essential for healthy plant growth, and you want to make sure that your soil is rich in nutrients and well draining. The soil is the home that your plants live in, so the more nutrients that are available to your plants, the healthier they'll be. You can always amend soil with compost or organic matter to improve its quality, but I recommend as a beginner to just buy yourself some high quality potting soil. You want to set yourself up for success, so why not just start with something that you know is of high quality. Many people, myself included, do get a little bit mixed up with watering. Watering is, I think, a little bit more of an art rather than a science, but the main thing to remember is that different plants have different water needs. A good general rule of thumb is to water deeply and less frequently. You want to check the soil moisture regularly and water when the top inch or so of that soil feels dry. A lot of plants will want to be watered deeply, so really make an effort to soak your plants rather than just spraying them with water. Generally speaking, you want to make sure water is aimed at the soil, not the plant itself. Some people mistakenly think that if you spray plant leaves with water, that means that they're going to burn in the sun. Of course, that's not true, because if that were true in nature, every time it rained, all the leaves on trees and other plants would get burned, and that's not what happens. That being said, we want as much water as possible to reach the actual plant. Plants mostly absorb water through their roots, not their leaves. Planting plants with similar watering needs in the same space will save you a lot of time and trouble as well. Plants in containers often dry out faster because there's less soil to absorb moisture. So you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on all container plants, especially during really hot, dry stretches. They're probably going to require more water than you might think. Of course, with rising temperatures and unpredictable weather patterns, food-bearing plants are facing a lot of new challenges in climate change. Extreme heat, drought, and pests are all things that impact our gardens and will only increasingly impact them. There are things that we can do to mitigate some of these effects, so consider planting heat-tolerant varieties of plants, plants that are suited to your region, doing mulching to help retain moisture, as well as thinking about growing some plants under shade cloth where there might be extreme heat. In terms of planting seeds and transplanting, knowing how to actually put a plant in the ground can be something that makes a big difference in how much success you have. So when you're planting a plant, dig a hole about the depth of the pot the plant is coming from. You want to carefully take out the plant and just gently tease apart the roots a little bit. This isn't absolutely necessary, but it just helps the roots spread out a little bit faster. Put the plant firmly in the ground and be sure that all of the soil covers the entire root ball. There should not be any roots showing to the air. Soil should be covering all of it. You want to pack the soil around the main stem, but don't pack it in too firmly. Just one good firm press is generally enough. Basically, be firm but gentle and cover your whole root ball. Water the plant well, and you should be all set for that plant to grow well. There's so many things to think about when we think about plant care. These are just a few of the essentials. You will learn a lot of stuff as you go. I do want to mention that starting from seeds isn't the hardest thing in the world, but I would stick to seeds that you can plant directly in the ground versus having to start indoors and then transplant out. So seeds like peas, spinach, carrots, these are all pretty easy in a wide range of climates. To plant those seeds, you just make a row with your finger or a trowel in the dirt and you scatter a line of seeds in. You can water it well again, keep the ground slightly moist for the first few weeks to help encourage those seeds to germinate. And seedlings are generally quite tender, so watch them closely and don't let them dry out or get too cold. Check your seed packets for the best time to plant and look up when the best time to plant particular crops in your area are. Ultimately, the best starting point I can suggest is that most of the time when you're buying plants, they're going to come with some sort of plant tag. If you start small and simple, let's say with a few tomato plants and a few pepper plants, it will give you a chance to learn about what those plants need to grow well and start to get some of the basics down. A big mistake that gardeners make when they first start out is trying to just do too many things at once. It's very tempting to try every variety of vegetable that is available at your garden center. The trouble is, all those plants have different needs. And again, when we think about starting something new like growing food, we want to be successful as much as possible. So making things simple and really trying to learn as much as we can about a few particular things gives us a really strong foundation for success moving forwards. I hope this is helpful. Again, it's just a starting point. There's so much more to learn, and I encourage you to check out the rest of the Growing Your Own Food course.